Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me for the segment, we have Dr. Joe Wiley, CEO of Nasdaq-listed Amryt Pharma, to discuss innovation in rare disease treatment. Dr. Wiley, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me on, Jill.
All right, you got to give us an overview of Amryt's mission and what are some of the diseases that you aim to treat?
Yeah, so we're a commercial stage biopharmaceutical company focused exclusively on rare and orphan diseases. And our strategy is to acquire, develop, and commercialize in rare diseases. So we've built our business through acquisition to date. Rare diseases, there's about 7,000 rare diseases in the world, for which there's only 10% or so have an actual treatment. So there's a massive unmet medical need in rare diseases. So we focus exclusively on that area. We have 4 commercial products: metreleptin that treats lipodystrophy, lamidopide that treats HoFH, or homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia, which is a bit of a mouthful. We have Mycapssa, the first and only approved oral octreotide to treat acromegaly, and we also have the only drug that's ever been approved to treat EB, with our Filsavez drug being approved recently in Europe. So they're the 4 areas that we focus on right now.
What makes the company's approach unique with Amryt's work in helping patients with rare diseases?
Well, we're exclusive, right? So we focus exclusively on rare diseases. There are a lot of companies who have rare disease assets but don't focus exclusively on these areas. And we also seek to develop drugs in rare diseases where there's a really high unmet medical need. So let me give you an example of that. EB stands for epidermolysis bullosa. It's a truly horrific disease where children are born without the proteins in their skin that hold their skin together. So minor trauma, such as pulling on socks, rips their skin off. And it's the severe patients spend their entire life wrapped in a bandage. And that's the best that Western medicine has had for these patients, with no approved therapy. And I've contended that that was no better than the Middle Ages. So our drug Filsavez accelerates the process of wound healing in these patients. They have to have often morphine to get through bandage changes, because as the bandage comes off, the skin will rip off with the bandage. So it's truly, truly horrific. And as I say, our Filsavez drug is a drug that just got approved in Europe to treat these children with this disease.
Dr. Wiley, how is Amryt working with advocacy groups to help patients, families, and their carers with rare disease treatment?
Yeah, so it's enormously important to work with patient advocacy groups, because we feel that if we don't advocate on behalf of these patients, well, then who will, right? So we work with patient advocacy in all the disease areas in which we operate, and it's enormously important because, you know, rare is rare by definition, and therefore educating not just the public at large, but also policymakers, even physicians. Like, I'm a physician myself, and I wouldn't have come across a lot of these rare diseases in my time in medicine, because by definition, these diseases are rare. So we are working to educate physicians, and then working specifically with patient advocacy to make sure that we are making the patients aware of the drugs that are coming available, and also supporting those patients as they go through their patient journey, trying to make sure that we get these patients are diagnosed quickly. It takes on average 5 to 7 years for a patient with a rare disease to get diagnosed. So really working with all patient advocacy across our therapeutic areas to increase awareness of these diseases is hugely important.
And Dr. Wiley, you'd made the point that rare diseases are called rare for a reason. What quantifies as a rare disease?
Yeah, so there's different definitions, but the way to think about it is less than 200,000 patients is considered rare, and less than 1 in 200,000 patients, and then less than 50,000 patients is a ultra rare disease. So, you know, these are tiny numbers, and we operate actually in the ultra rare space mostly. So we're really dealing with very, very small numbers of patients.
What can investors anticipate from Amryt in the longer term?
Well, so we're a commercial business. We set out to be from the outset. so we both we acquire, develop, and commercialize products. So we've built our business, as I said earlier, through acquisition. We have now built a business that will do revenues this year of between $260 to $270 million. And we're also unusual for a biotech company in that we make money. We are EBITDA positive. So we generated 12.5 million of EBITDA last quarter, and that's our 11th consecutive quarter of positive EBITDA generation. And EBITDA is a good proxy for cash flow, operating cash flow in our business. So we plan to continue to grow our business. We're growing at double-digit year over year. We plan to continue to do that, but also to look to continue our strategy to acquire further rare disease assets or companies and grow through acquisition as well.
When you decide to make an acquisition, is it specific to a disease that you're looking to target to treat? Is it the business synergies, or is it a combination of the two?
We're particularly good at generating those synergies you've just referenced. So when we announced our last deal, we acquired Chiasma last year, we announced that we would deliver $50 million of cost synergies, and we've delivered on that. We're good at this, we know what we're doing, and we're able to deliver on the synergies we announce. And that's kept us EBITDA positive and cash flow generative throughout that period. In terms of what we look for, we're really driven by a number of factors. One, we want us to work for rare diseases where there's small numbers of patients being treated by small numbers of physicians, often in small numbers of centers. That means that we can have a commensurately small commercial footprint and address the market opportunity. And we've proved that by doing over the last 7 years. So we've been very, very successful at that. And then we don't specifically look at therapeutic areas in that we're driven more by the high unmet medical need, where there's a large commercial opportunity. That's really what drives us, because in rare diseases, you don't have that huge infrastructure sunk cost. And therefore, you can be a little bit more therapeutic area agnostic, because once you have the core infrastructure built, which we have globally, we're a global business, then the incremental cost to us to launch a new product is relatively small. So we're very excited about where we can take this business now, because as a EBITDA profitable, cash generating business with that global platform, we really can now accelerate our growth through both organically and through further acquisition.
All right, Dr. Wiley, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks and for all the great work you're doing out there in the rare disease space. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thanks, Jill.